Hey, Dr. Dan here. I'm just gonna show you real quick the setup and how this scene portal works. So what I have here is just a scene with a directional flying camera. So moving my mouse around to navigate, and then using the WASD or arrow keys to move up, to move forward and back. And what I have here is some portals, and what they're going to do is load scenes that I've typed the name of that are in my build. This is very useful for like showing off student work. So if you've got some student work you want to show off for, high school presentations or whatever, or your own work, this is a nice, easy, intuitive way to do it. So I'm just going to go towards this prefab, which is going to load scene 2. So you can see I have go to scene 2, go to scene 3 up in text above these prefabs. So let's go to this one, and as I hit the boundary, I'm now in scene 2. And you can see I can go back to scene 1, and same thing. Okay, so here's how it works. What we have here is a scene portal object. I have some particle effects on that to make it look kind of neat. It's not really important. They can look like anything you want. It could be a default cube if you want. What's doing the work here is the scene loader script. It's a very simple script. You can go to it now. So, and I'm actually going to modify it right now a little bit to make it more intuitive to use. But basically we have a trigger collider, and when the camera when anything collides with it, this trigger collider goes. If it's the camera, I first print out whatever collided with it, the portal. This is a script on the portal. And then I check the name of the thing that's colliding with it. So here's the name right here. Fly camera. Now, your cameras of your student scenes might have different names, and so if you just want to use this script, I was thinking I'll make a public variable camera name that you can modify in the editor, and then instead of checking for fly camera, let's just check for camera name. And then the only other thing in the script is I'm using my scene management, and I have a scene to load string, and what I'm doing here is scene manager load async, so it goes faster and other stuff can go on, and then I'm just loading the scene to load. So you have to make sure that the scenes you want to load are in your build settings, go through that in just a second, and that you've given the scene to load in the editor a value. So let's get rid of these debugs, comment them out, save, go back to Unity, and save. Alright, so now if we go to our portal, the portal is an object that just has some text. So here you can put some text above if you want. You don't really need that. You can delete that element if you want. I just found it's a nice, easy way to keep track of the scenes you're going to if they have different names. What actually loads the scene, you can see in our scene loader script, is this name right here, so scene 2. So if I go to my file, build settings, you'll see that I have scenes 1 and 2 in there, and I don't have scene 3. So to add a scene, we'll go through that real quick. Let me save, and then switch to scene 3. Go to file, build settings, add open scenes. There's scene 3 right there. Okay, let me save. So right, so now we have a variable for camera name, so I'm just going to type the name of my camera, which is fly camera, right here, and handle the loading of scenes that way, and just test that it works real quick. Whoop, there we go. Okay, cool. Alright, so now what I'll do is save all this. Oh yeah, let me explain the fly camera script. For this script, you just have some public variables. For speed's the only one you really need to worry about. The script itself is a little more involved because we have to use quaternions for the rotation of the mouse. The mouse movement calculates the rotation of the head of the camera, I guess, which way it's looking. It's not super complicated though. So you have just a rigid body that I've attached to the camera, and you would need to do that to your scene's camera if you're using a different scene and you want to use that scene's camera. It would need to have a rigid body attached, and that's just for detecting collisions and for yeah. After that, I'm just having a variable for speed, for the sensitivity of the mouse that we can adjust, and the clamp angle of the mouse that we can adjust in the editor, and then some private variables for the rotation on the up, y, and right x-axis when I grab the rigid body component. Then use the current rotation as a starting rotation, and set my rotation x and y variables, and update for movement. I'm using input get axis, vertical and horizontal, and then irritates me. And then for the so the mouse can actually look using the mouse X and mouse Y axis, and then adding to the rotation times the sensitivity times time delta time, so we have smooth movement of the head of the camera, the gaze of the camera. We're clamping down the rotation by the clamp angle so that you can't look too far left or right, and that's just that's not necessary, but it helps with first-person shooter kind of head rotation. And then we use a quaternion for local rotation and set our transform.rotation to that, and we're putting in our x and y rotation variables. So that happens in updates. We're always getting those variables and adding to them by these values. Finally, we are modifying the position itself, and we're modifying it in two ways. So we're first getting the transform position, and then we're adding the camera's forward vector multiplied times the speed, multiplied times move forward, and then times time delta times. This is so we can get a smooth forward movement when we hit the arrow keys or the WASD keys. And then for the left and right, so the A and D, or the left and right arrows, we're getting the transform right of the camera, and then multiplying again times speed and times our move sideways variable and time delta time. So these are just floats that we got by the get axis vertical and get axis horizontal. We can take that out. Okay, save that. Let's get rid of that white space too. Cool. All right. So now let me just package all this up so that you can just pull all this into a project, into someone else's scene or one of your other scenes, and then just either add a rigid component to your to your camera, and then give your scene portals that name, the name of your camera, or you can delete your main camera and use my fly camera if you want. Alright, so let's go to, how do we package? export package. You probably don't need the Facebook SDK. So there's the scenes. I guess I'll leave the scenes in so you can play around with those. And then fly camera, scene portal. I've got some basic materials in there too. Probably don't need those, but let's just export all of them.